Hello everyone, and welcome to NASA's training on the agency's new biographical sketch and current and pending support disclosure requirements. My name is Chris Morgia, and I am a senior analyst in NASA's Office of Procurement, Procurement and Grants Policy Division. As some of you may know, NASA released a new edition of the NASA Grant and Cooperative Agreement Manual, or GCAM, on October 1, 2024. The requirements in the GCAM apply to all new and amended awards issued on or after October 1, 2024, and two of the new requirements are the need for a biosketch and current and pending support form to be provided with every application. This video provides an overview of those new forms and when and how they must be submitted. For more information on the GCAM and NASA Grants Policy in general, please visit the NASA Grants Policy and Compliance website. We also have a YouTube video that provides an overview of major revisions to the 2024 GCAM that is available on the same playlist that this video is found. This training introduces NASA's new biosketch and current and pending support disclosure requirements. First, I will provide an overview of the disclosure forms and discuss their purpose. Then, we will review who needs to submit the forms, what information needs to be disclosed, and when that information needs to be disclosed. We will also touch on the certification requirements related to these forms, and we'll end by answering a few frequently asked questions. So let's get started. As I mentioned, NASA released the 2024 GCAM on October 1, 2024. The 2024 edition contains significant revisions, two of which are new policies that require biosketch and current and pending support disclosures for senior or key personnel on NASA grants and cooperative agreements. These disclosure requirements were implemented to effectuate requirements in National Security Presidential Memorandum 33, or NSPM 33, which requires agencies to standardize the collection of information related to conflicts of interest and conflicts of commitment to the greatest extent practicable. NASA's new biosketch policy can be found in GCAM Section 10.5, and the new current and pending support disclosure policy can be found in GCAM Section 10.6. NASA and several other federal research agencies have adopted common biographical sketch and current pending support disclosure forms to standardize disclosure requirements and reduce administrative burden. The purpose of the biosketch is to provide information to NASA that will be used to assess how well qualified an individual, team, or organization is to conduct proposed activities. The information collected on current and pending support forms is used to assess the capacity or any conflict of commitment that may impact the ability of an individual to carry out the proposed research effort. The disclosure forms have been posted to NASA's Grants Policy and Compliance website as Word documents, which allows individuals to easily download and populate the forms. Both forms contain instructions on how to complete them, and they also include links to standardized definitions, such as that for academic appointments, conflict of commitment, and foreign government-sponsored talent recruitment program. Additionally, both forms include a link to a table that lists all activities that must be disclosed in the forms, and I'll discuss that table more in a few slides. I'll also note that the forms denote mandatory information with a red asterisk, and neither form has a page limit. Senior or key persons must submit both forms at application via the NASA Solicitation and Proposal Integrated Review and Evaluation System, or INSPIRES, and individuals may also be required to submit post-award disclosures as well. We will further discuss how to submit those forms later in this presentation. So who needs to submit a disclosure form? Anyone that's designated as a senior or key person on a NASA grant or cooperative agreement proposal must submit a completed and signed biosketch and current and pending support form within their entity's proposal that is submitted in INSPIRES. Per NSPM 33, senior or key persons are defined as individuals who contribute in a substantive, meaningful way to the scientific development or execution of a research and development project proposed to be carried out with federal funds and are designated as covered individuals by the Federal Research Agency. NASA defines covered individuals as any PI, regardless of their level of effort on a project, any co-PI, regardless of their level of effort, and any co-I that is proposing to spend 10% or more of their time on a NASA award. Note that 10% threshold only applies to co-Is and it does not apply to PIs or co-PIs. What information do senior or key persons need to disclose to NASA? Both forms require basic identifying information, such as the individual's name, position, and organization name, to be provided. After providing that basic information, individuals will populate the forms with their disclosure information. The BioSketch form includes three main categories for disclosures. The first is professional preparation, the second is appointments and positions, and the third is products. The current and pending support form has two major categories, with the first being proposals and active projects, and the second being in-kind contributions. To determine which activities need to be disclosed on these forms, individuals will consult the NASA pre-award and post-award disclosure requirements table, which can also be found on the Grants Policy and Compliance website. Using this table, individuals will determine if they have anything to report and disclose that information in the appropriate form. The pre-award and post-award disclosure requirements table is a critical component of the BioSketch and current and pending support forms. It is essentially a chart that describes 13 activities and tells individuals in which form that activity must be disclosed. The table will list an activity and then have a checkmark in either the BioSketch, current and pending support, or facilities, equipment, and other resources column. Activities with a checkmark under BioSketch or current and pending support have to be disclosed in either of those forms where applicable. Activities with a checkmark in the Facilities, Equipment, and Other Resources column have to be disclosed in that section of an entity's proposal. So, for example, travel supported or paid by an external entity has a checkmark under the Current and Pending Support column, so senior or key persons must disclose that activity in the CPS form if they are engaged or participating in that activity. The graphic on the right side of this slide shows a screenshot of what the table looks like. There are also check marks in the table that indicate information that needs to be disclosed post-award, and I will discuss those further on in this video. Additionally, the table describes activities that do not need to be disclosed in either form. For example, support that has ended and salaries provided to an individual by their home organization do not have to be disclosed to NASA in either form. In addition to the disclosure requirements, there are new individual level and entity level certifications. Individuals will complete a certification by signing the bottom of each form, and these certifications state that the information provided is accurate, current, and complete, and that at the time of submission, the individual is not a party to a malign foreign talent recruitment program. Individuals are encouraged to digitally sign their disclosure forms. In addition to the individual certifications, entities' authorized organizational representatives, or AORs, must certify in Inspires that covered individuals listed on the entity's application are compliant with current and pending support disclosure requirements. As I mentioned, there are disclosures that must be submitted at application. We have already covered those. There are also post-award disclosures that senior or key persons may need to make after receiving a grant or cooperative agreement from NASA. The disclosure table contains a column called Project Reports, and if an activity has a checkmark in the Project Reports column, then new participation or engagement in those activities must be disclosed post-award. Individuals must disclose new activities post-award by taking the following two steps. First, in the next performance report that is due to NASA after the individual has engaged in the new activity, the report must indicate that there are new disclosures to be made. In the Research Performance and Progress Report template that NASA requires, there is a section called Participants and Other Collaborating Organizations, and if there is new information to disclose, entities just need to indicate in that section of the RPPR that they have a new disclosure to make. Then the second step is that individuals need to provide updated BioSketch or current and pending support forms with that new disclosure information. So we need an indication in the performance report as well as an updated form if there are new activities to disclose post-award. Disclosing participation or engagement in new activities is one way in which post-award disclosures may need to be made. A second way in which post-award disclosures may need to be made is if an institution determines that a senior or key person failed to disclose information during the application stage. If an institution discovers a failure to disclose information at application, then the entity, not the individual, must notify NASA within 30 calendar days of that discovery. For more information on this requirement, recipients should take a look at Term and Condition 4.11 Post-Award Disclosure Requirements. I'd now like to take a few moments to review a few frequently asked questions that NASA has received regarding the new BioSketch and current and pending support disclosure requirements. Hopefully, these will help address some of the questions that you or your entities have been receiving. The first question is, why doesn't NASA allow Science CV forms? NASA does not currently use Science CV, and we are only accepting the NASA-specific forms found on the Grants Policy and Compliance website. Because we do not use Science CV, any form produced in Science CV will not display required NASA-specific Privacy Act and burden statement information. Additionally, the forms that are produced in Science CV do not completely align to NASA's disclosure requirements because they were designed for other agencies. So if an entity were to use the Science CV forms and submit them to NASA, they might not be in compliance with NASA's requirements. The next question is, can individuals modify NASA's forms? No, modifications to or removal of the standard boilerplate language on the NASA forms is not allowable. For example, individuals must not alter section titles on the forms or delete the Privacy Act information found on the bottom of the forms. Okay, so the final question is, the Notice of Funding Opportunity, or NOFO, that I am applying to was released prior to October 1, 2024. Do I still have to submit the disclosure forms? Yes, the disclosure forms are required for all new and amended NASA grants and cooperative agreements issued on or after October 1, 2024, regardless of when a NOFO may have been published. Note, however, that some NOFOs published prior to October 1 will not explicitly ask for the new disclosure forms. In those cases, applicants should continue to adhere to the directions in the NOFO regarding BioSketch and CPS disclosure requirements. However, if your proposal is ultimately selected for funding, a NASA grant officer will reach out to your entity to request that the new disclosure forms be submitted before your award can be issued. And that concludes our video on the new BioSketch and current pending support disclosure requirements. We hope you found this video helpful. I will leave you all with links to the documents that I mentioned throughout this training video, and you can also find those same links in the description for this YouTube video. Thank you all for joining. We appreciate it.